All these rumors are fun to talk about, and Red Bull hasn't blown up yet.
Alex Albon's birthday, and his gift, Logan Sargent's car.
With the drain covers, why is this such a big issue?
That's what I'm saying. Alonso more and more is looking like Aaron Rodgers.
He's geriatric. We just kind of want him for merit mark.
You cannot win a constructor's battle when your second driver is not performing.
Grab your popcorn, folks. Things are getting crazy.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. My name is Marina. I'm here with Jason, Christina, and Steven. What a race. I was not expecting half of the stuff that happened in that race.
Neither was Max, I'll tell you what.
I don't think the teams were either. Let's start with that. We always start with headlines. I want to start with that. Max and George at the restart. Well, actually, let's backtrack. We'll start with Max and Charles at the restart.
Yes.
I would start it before that, where it all went wrong.
Oh, yeah.
The
actual
pit
stops is where it all went wrong.
That's where it went wrong. When they put him on hards.
It all went wrong when they pitted him, period. In my opinion, and Max mentioned it in his interview, he should have probably just stayed out. Because even with the deficit, okay, he gets gobbled up by Oscar Piastri and the McLarens. So what? By the time the 6 laps are up, the chances of him being behind George, I think, were very slim.
It almost happened. It ended up happening anyways, so.
Yeah, but my point being, if they had stayed out and everybody else had pitted, he stayed on softs, he would have had to, it's still semi-difficult to overtake, even with a huge tire offset. For 6 laps, I think he would have been
should have taken that
gobbled up by the 2 McLarens. But I think Charles would have struggled to overtake him, and so would George, because at that point, those are used softs from a quali run. So it's not like they're used softs, they went around 4 laps in a reconnaissance lap. They did quali runs, so they weren't fresh either.
Well,
so
Leclerc had quali run tires. I mean, albeit there was a couple of laps. And as Nico Rosberg, I love Nico in the booth because he has experience with the modern Pirellis.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's actually good to scrub it in a little bit. And it helps turn on the tires quicker.
So you're saying he supports Aston Martin's strategy of where they scrub all their tires at the beginning of every race weekend? Or somewhere in the middle? I mean, that reminds me of what Carlos Sainz would do at Ferrari, is most races, he would start with a scrubbed set. He wouldn't put on new sets. I think when he won in Singapore in 23, that's what Sainz did, is he did one run on soft tires, put him through maybe a lap, maybe 2. And then he started on those tires just to wear away the shine and the freshness and just get a little bit more abrasive. So that also helped Charles. But you're right. That was the decision. Do we? Because think about it, if nobody else stopped and he was on new tires, new hard tires, but new tires, Max would have had the advantage.
Yeah.
But if he would have stayed out and everybody else would have stopped, then you're right. He could have been just playing defense the whole time and probably would have been better than he ended up.
Yeah.
My favorite, though, is when he got out on track, he's like, what are these tires? And his engineer's like, they're hards, Max.
Yeah, GP went
he doesn't already know that.
Okay, what?
He's like, yeah, but why? He was not. He was. I mean, it was.
I know. I just love how GP was like, they're hard tires.
They're
Max.
hard tires.
Yeah,
and he was like,
as if Max didn't know.
I think the correct
we didn't have a choice.
Should have been
1 tire left.
I think the correct choice should have been box opposite Norris. That should have been the call, in my opinion. I think it should have been if Oscar and Lando come in like they did, stay out. If they don't come in, you come in, because even on a new hard compared to the softs, I think he had the chance, and he had a really big gap to Leclerc when the safety car came out. So I think he would have made it out before, because you lose less. Even though people are slowing, I think he would have made it out. Even if Leclerc didn't pit, I think he would have made it out before.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't watching the Sky Sports one. I watched the F1 TV broadcast, and the broadcasters, when he pit, they were like, "Is he doing a 4-stop? Why is he doing a 4-stop?"
That was crazy. This whole race, I saw 2 stops on the predicted strategy, and then when I heard Max was doing 3, I was like, when's the last time we've seen a 3-stop strategy?
Well, it's
the last time
weird.
we saw a 4-stop was in 2013, where Fernando Alonso won with a 4-stop.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Is that at Spain?
Yeah, at that race.
Wow. That's
the
crazy.
last time there was a 4-stop
in Spain. Yeah.
Yeah, was
it's interesting to me because
2013. Fernando Alonso won the race.
That's crazy.
It seems that Red Bull to me anyway, I don't know how y'all feel about it. It feels like both these last 2 races, Red Bull had through on strategy. Like they just knew that they weren't going to win, and they just not to say they purposely did bad strategy, but it's like
I think the race before this one. If you're saying someone threw a strategy, it was Mercedes.
Well, that too.
Yeah,
that
it was
more
defensive.
There was
like Steven.
No, but like
to your point,
it's
been more defensive. Like,
Yeah.
they would go to cover off the cars behind them instead of boxing to overtake the cars ahead.
Yeah.
Like you just heard constantly over radio, they're like, "Yeah, we gotta box out, protect the undercut from behind." Like they generally saw the Ferraris and Mercedes as a threat, which, as we found out, George and Leclerc were a threat.
I think that like in Monaco, they had a slim window of like a 1 lap where they could have pitted, and they would have come out with Oscar like side by side, and it would have been like a fight to turn 1. And realistically, Oscar probably would have taken it. They have more pace, and he was coming straight out of like the pits on new tires. But other than that, they had nothing to like. They couldn't do anything. Like they just weren't quick enough, and that's the problem when like you're not quick enough on track. You're just that second place, and Max gets so frustrated with like I can't do anything. Barring the safety car, I think Red Bull made the right choice. I think the 3-stop was better for Max because he didn't want to sit by. Their tire drag was higher. He wouldn't have been able to do anything with the 2-stop. Whereas with the 3-stop, there were moments where you could see a P2 on, even maybe a race win, depending on how it played out. But I don't know. I think.
So I guess it's just like a race pace thing and a tire drag thing. Because obviously McLaren has the best of both, but.
Wasn't Yuki also on a 3-stop?
I don't know what Yuki was on, but Yuki was on
Yuki did Yuki things.
Because he qualified P19 and then started at the back of the grid and was never in the points.
He qualified P20.
Oh, he ended up P19. Yeah, he started P19.
How does he qualify last? I mean, all fairness, he's only a half a second off for Verstappen, which teammate to teammate with the situation at Red Bull is expected. Yeah, but it just so happens to be that half a second was P20, which is insane.
The way the grid is now.
I saw a stat that Isaac has more points than Liam and Yuki combined right now.
That's crazy.
I saw that. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think Isaac has been the most consistent, but also like Q1, the grid spread from first to last was 0.8 of a second. Like that's
insane.
It's nothing. It's one of the I think it's one of the tightest we've seen in a long time. This grid is very close in Q1 specifically. Because again, you also have the element of like Lando and Oscar and Max, they're not pushing to the max in Q1. They're just doing enough to get through. So of course that creates a little bit less of a spread, granted. But like that elimination zone of cars that could just barely make it in or not is so close. And Yuki also got really rushed to the line. Like granted, because of Franco Colapinto, he barely made it over the line, and his tires definitely weren't in the right window and all that stuff. So it's not like, I think, given the right preparation, he could have made it into Q2. I don't think he would have made it to Q3.
Yeah.
But it was just an unfortunate turn of events that, like, it is what it is. I give it up. I give it up.
It's like
the question is, when does Red Bull give up? If at all.
I almost feel like as long as Max is a driver, they won't give up.
Yeah, I agree.
As long as Max is a driver with Red Bull, they just won't care.
But I mean,
think
like,
that's just the way it is.
You think they're just going to leave Yuki for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Not that. I just don't think that they're going to care enough to be like... I just don't think they're going to put the preparation that Car 2 needs to really be successful.
Realistically, think about it. If they take Yuki out, that means they put Isaac in. If somehow Isaac doesn't perform either, who are they going to put in the car?
Yeah.
They'd also then only have one
every single driver they've tried doesn't work out. I mean, you see, next year is going to be telling. Like this year, I think is going to be a write-off for that second seat.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think they're going to go crazy trying to find somebody. But next year, completely new car. That's probably going to change how it suits Max, how it suits the second driver. I think it might help. Because the last time we saw a second driver competitive was, well, to be fair to Perez, was 22. Perez was kind of okay in that Red Bull second seat.
At the beginning.
Yeah. And then beginning of 24, he was good too. He got second. It's like it's possible. But I think the reset behind the new 26 cars will set everybody in a new car, and we'll get that second seat closer. You just kind of lucked out of circumstances, because I think this could be a great setup for him to be the second Red Bull driver next year too.
Yeah, but Honda.
I
think and Honda are the thing.
Oh, you're right. He might just go over to Aston.
He might leave.
Yeah, but
I think Isaac.
Who's going to leave Aston?
Alonso. He's probably going to retire.
Alonso's really frustrated. I don't know that he's going to renew his contract.
It's not worth it for him to be in that car.
The only reason I could see him staying is to test out new regs with Adrian Newey there. That's like his saving grace. The only way they can convince him to stay. The other thing is, does Aston Martin even want to sign him? Because he's I mean, obviously he's had moments, like, it's not all his fault. He's had retirements because of engines and whatnot, but like, this was his first points he scored all season. So it's also not like he's on his peak form. And of course, it's always like, you don't just get rid of Fernando Alonso. He's Fernando Alonso. But at the same time, maybe there's other opportunities there. If you're going to use your second seat for Lance Stroll, you might as well try and get someone nice in the car with Adrian there.
Vettel.
Max.
I heard he's not coming back.
I heard Vettel for Canada, potentially.
For Canada?
For Canada. I think it's
We're talking about Sebastian Vettel, right?
Sebastian Vettel, yeah.
He said he's not coming back. His kids don't want him racing, so he said, I'm not racing anymore.
I think he's done, though.
Okay,
yeah.
I heard those rumors.
But there are rumors.
Yeah, those were a long time ago. There's always something I didn't hear something. This is just my own thoughts. If Lance keeps injuring his hand, I wouldn't be too surprised if he was like, no, my hands are too injured at the end of this season. And
just medically retires.
Yeah. I think that's a really good excuse for him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I think it works well of being like, I'm going to prioritize my health. Peace out.
Yeah.
And not be like,
his dad's still there,
so bad that even my dad replaced me. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he had a good run. That would have been 8 seasons. And multiple podiums, a pole position. Like,
I wouldn't be
you could look
surprised
back
if he
and
left.
said he had fun.
Yeah. I'm like, this would be a good way to retire for him.
Yeah.
Because, his dad's there, so he has the seat. So it's kind of bad if his dad goes, actually, I'm replacing you.
Well, I heard the board was going to, like, convince the dad and, like, sit down and be like, Lawrence, do you want to win? Yes. Your son doesn't. Oh. Like, I imagine that would be the conversation.
I imagine that'd be how it goes. I think he's there because he still enjoys it, but he doesn't have a hunger to win. I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
You see,
Fernando's been doing good lately, he's been like so happy that you were like, he's been like really bad or whatever. And I was like, all I can think about is how he's been like, yeah, I made it into Q3 or whatever. He's like, yeah, I got points.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Like that'll keep him, like the little moments. Like Lance, I used to be a big Lance defender because he did show a lot of potential, but like he plateaued. He didn't get any better.
Yeah.
I wasn't following F1 when he was like that, so I'm gonna be honest. When I found out he wasn't racing, I was like, I'm so sorry for Lance, but at the same time, I forget you're driving a car sometimes.
Yeah. Fair. That was the text I got from Christina, and I was like, oh wait, he's not racing? Like, I hadn't even checked yet.
Did this race really change with Lance not in it?
No, I was like, the race isn't going to change.
Crash, probably, though.
Yes.
Sure. It probably would have been another safety car at some point. So,
my favorite moment is when George is screaming, red, 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 the second eared Stroll is coming up on him.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, speaking of safety cars, let's go back to the restart. I want to talk about that before we get too sidetracked. Like we mentioned, the hards was not the way to go, but it did almost cause a crash in itself, like all by himself.
Oh, yeah.
That save out of turn 14 was epic. There's that part. There was also the brake tests from Oscar Piastri, which was questionable, but also like I was confused as to why they didn't expect it. Like they were entering sector 3.
Yeah.
Safety car was going in, safety car was ending. Like, of course he was going to back up the pack. Like, why?
Yeah, he's going to slow down.
But it was like no one anticipated it. They were like, "Oh wait, you're stopping?" Like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, Lando sort of did, but that makes
Max
sense.
and Charles did not.
Yeah, Max almost. That would have been wild if he would have slammed into him.
No, after the restart, the F1 commentators were like, how is Max driving in these turns, defending behind Russell, and yelling at GP at the radio? They were confused. They were like, what is happening? How is he multitasking so well?
Yeah. But then, okay, the Leclerc collision was ruled...
Nothing, just an incident.
Nothing, just an incident.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
No further action. What I think is funny is that Leclerc
have they ruled
admitted
that
to
yet?
it. Yeah, they did. They ruled it no further action.
I didn't think
What
it was anything.
funny
Okay.
is I didn't think it was anything. I never thought it was a
I
big
didn't think it was
penalty.
either.
But Leclerc admitted to hitting Max. Like, he said, I just wanted the slipstream, so I was just pushing him off.
Yeah,
And
he
they
also said
collided.
that...
It was his fault, but the decision thing says there was no predominant driver at fault, which doesn't make any sense to me, but that's okay.
Well, no, it does, because Leclerc was coming left, and Verstappen still had room to his left.
Well, but Charles
Max
said in one of his
wasn't
interviews...
but Max wasn't coming right. Max was straight. Like,
What Charles said in one of his interviews, he said Max was trying to push me off into, like, the dirty side of the track. So I just went to the other side a little bit, and I accidentally touched him.
Yeah.
All right,
but he was like, the reason he did that was because Max was trying to push him to the dirty side.
They probably both tried to push each other, and they both ended up hitting each other.
No, yeah.
But nothing, just an incident.
Max positioned his car so that it forced Leclerc to go on the dirty side of the grid. Then he just stayed straight, and Charles didn't want to be on the dirty side, so he started pushing Max over. So, like, all in all, like, I didn't think it was anything major. I just thought it was, like, there was an argument to be made about the fact that he admitted to it, which I thought was funny. But then he's through, and I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. I'll take fourth. That's fine. Then comes George Russell, and I was like, whoa, man, you gonna push him like that? Like, I was so confused, because there's, like, 3 rules. And he hit 2 of them, but he didn't have the 3rd. Because you have to be, I think, what is it? Is it front axle to wing mirror at the apex? I think it's front axle to wing mirror at the apex. And you have to have control of the car, which he didn't have. And you have to stay in the white lines, which he did. So, like, he had 2 of the 3, but he didn't have full control of the car. Like, he lost it for a second there. And Max took the run off. And GP was like, give the position back. And Max was like, no?
He was ahead through the corner. You can see on the replay. Like, GP was definitely wrong on that. Like, first GP mistake in a while, I think.
And that's what kind of pisses me off is, like, Red Bull, like, made all the mistakes. Like, yes, Max at the end cost the, what was it, 5th place or whatever to be 10th with the collision. But at the end of the day, Red Bull's decision to go on the 3-stop and then 4-stop technically with the hards, I think that was the wrong call on the hards. Max wasn't happy about it. That was problem number 1. Then the Charles collision where he was upset and they kind of just brushed it off. Like, what do you want from us? Like, nothing's going to happen. Which it was under investigation, so that was like that. Then you have the Russell incident and GP is telling him to give the position back when he knows full well he was ahead and he took the runoff like he was supposed to. So all the things pile up, and of course you have Mad Max. Like, what were you expecting to happen?
Mad Max, man.
But what were your views?
I've already seen edits about it on TikTok.
What were your views on the collision?
Bro just let his emotions get the better of him, I think.
He said, I don't care. I'm already not getting the podium.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm going to do what I want. Thank you very much.
It's funny. It seems like, I don't know what your take is on it, but it seems when Max gets mad, he just doesn't care like, if he doesn't think there's anything worth fighting for, he just doesn't care. Like,
it's a fair assessment. I think
because he said in his post-race interview, he's like, I think one of the reporters was asking him about, that hurts your championship fight, and he's like, what if there is a championship fight?
There isn't one.
It just seems to get
he's
very
still 3rd at the moment.
Mad, pouty.
I think that there's like a fine line. I think Max is right. I think as fans, I can believe all I want that he's 22 points behind and we're going in and things can still change.
Yeah.
But the reality is, with that kind of a deficit, even 22 points, the McLarens aren't just giving up race wins. They're not, as much as I pick apart Lando and Oscar, they're both taking wins. And so he's 22 points behind both of them, but it wasn't like, now 49 and 39 points, but it's not like 39 points is easy to get back. it's not like it's obviously not this huge deficit, but it's also not easy to just get those points back. So I think in a way, even with the 22-point gap, or even if it had been say 25-26 to Lando after the race, it's still not on. It's not like his championship is on. It's just not over. There's a difference between championship on and it being you having a championship fight and it not being over yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the point. Like, obviously he said it in an aggressive way. But that's kind of what Max is saying. Like it's not my championship to win. Like, if I win it, it's because McLaren fumbled. It's not because we did a good job.
Yeah.
Like, that's
an
the
interviewer asked Lando and Oscar if they know what tracks they're going to be bad at. And they were like, at this moment, we can't tell you what tracks we're going to be bad at. Like, we're not saying we're not going to be bad at tracks, but we can't identify them at this moment.
Pretty solid at most of them.
Yeah, so like, they're still going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, you see, you're right. He should never gave him back to place. But then to go and like ram into George, I mean, I expect him to be aggressive, but I didn't expect him to like literally ram into George.
Yeah.
And people might say, oh, maybe you're just going through the corner is tight. No, he had plenty of room on the inside.
No,
that
was on purpose.
That was intentional that he wanted contact. Yeah.
I wasn't surprised, but I did burst out laughing.
Exactly. Yeah. It puts him at 1 penalty point away from a race ban.
It does.
I think he's going to get the ban.
He's really
eventually.
working on that fraternity league, I'll tell you what.
When do the rest of his points expire?
Ooh, I don't know when the next set of points expire.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to say,
for a while,
but I want to say, I don't think it's that long though, because I want to say it was like the first. I think it's before the summer break. I don't think it's that far away. I think we're like, if he can behave for a couple races, he'll be okay. I don't know. I'd have to get back. I have to check. I'm not sure, but I guess from my point of view, firstly, you created Mad Max. Like I said, I don't know what you were expecting to happen after that.
Yeah,
I've watched enough of Max racing to know what happens when he gets that upset. And he was already mad throughout the race because, again, it is frustrating to still be 22 points behind in theory, but not be able to challenge at all. Like it's almost like the old days of Max being the third string of Lewis and Valtteri. Like, that's kind of the position he's in right now. He doesn't have the car to fight. So he was already frustrated throughout the race, and that really didn't help at all. I think they made the wrong move. And then on the incident itself, I think there's a word being used that I don't love, but I think it still works. Everybody's been asking, do you think it was intentional? Nothing Max or any other driver, for that matter, does is unintentional. So in that regard, like, it's not like they're not
if their tower blows up, it's unintentional, but everything else,
anything that's a car failure, that's unintentional. But if they're trying to overtake and they collide, that's intentional. So I hate that they're using that word as to be like, he meant to do this, this, and that. In no world do I think Max Verstappen was trying to hurt George Russell.
No,
I don't think that's what he wanted to do. I think he was intentional in that he was pissed off of how he was treated going overtaking in the inside, right? And so he was like, well, let me show you what it looks like from my perspective, right? And he did the same thing to George. Do I think it was right? No. I'm not going to defend it. I'm a Max Verstappen fan. I love Max. I'm not going to defend it. I'm not going to say he didn't deserve the 10-second penalty. I'm not going to say he didn't hit George with everything he's got. I will say, for some reason, Sky Sports and F1 TV don't have Max's on board. I couldn't tell you why, but they don't. I don't know if they're choosing not to show it or if they simply don't have it, because it doesn't make any sense to me why they wouldn't have it. I watched it. I didn't think it was as bad from Max's perspective as it looks from George and from the helicopter cam. That's not to say it wasn't bad. It just wasn't as aggressive.
It was a tap. Like, we've seen taps like that in the past. Like, I think back to Vettel and Hamilton under safety car in 2017 Baku. Vettel just straight up went alongside Hamilton and slammed into him wheel to wheel. Yeah. No damage to either car, but like, still not right. Yeah. If Max really wanted to hurt George, he would just not press the brakes.
He wouldn't have braked.
They would have both been in the wall heavily. You're right. I get what you mean. I think
that's a bit of my point. Is like,
it's like he slapped George. He didn't go for the knockout.
He didn't exactly.
Give him a nice Will Smith slap.
I like that.
A ruler across the wrists.
I think there's like it's being taken a little too far. Whereas like Sky Sports is talking about like how this looks to little kids. Like, guys, it was one turn. Like, I'm sorry if you can't handle, like, sports is like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid, like in hockey, they're always fighting each other. In hockey, we see blades coming up higher than they should. Like in football, they're always fighting. There are illegal blocks that happen, and people do it on purpose. But like, it's different, right? Like there's it's something we don't see as much in this era of Formula One. But granted, these guys grew up watching Michael Schumacher, and Michael Schumacher definitely would have done something like
this. No, he did not.
Yeah. I mean, I keep seeing those TikToks where it's like, if he was in now, he would be race ban after race ban and things like that. He'd be getting penalties.
Yeah, but he's one of the greatest racers ever. I mean, Flavio Briatore literally said if Alpine wanted to win a championship, they just have to sign Max. Because there's a thing, and I've talked about it with Lando.
How does that make their current drivers feel, though?
I don't know.
I mean, I think they probably know their place, honestly.
Like, if I'm Gasly, I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm a race winner. I've gotten on the podium before.
Replaced. I don't think Gasly's what he's talking about, though.
Yeah, but like, he basically, Briatore is saying is that Alpine can't win a championship with their current drivers.
Correct.
Yeah. And as F1 drivers, both of them believe they have the skills to win a championship.
But I don't know if you would have asked them if they would be able to do that with Alpine, you know?
Not this year, no.
Yeah.
But Flav is making it sound like that.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Like, I don't think if Max Verstappen was in an Alpine wouldn't be last in the constructors.
No.
I think that's
Are they last right now?
They are.
Well, it's the same thing for Williams Science, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
We thought that, Carlos Sainz would be making Williams this great team, and it's just not working.
I mean, they've
same
surprised.
thing for Lewis Hamilton. But...
They've surprised Williams.
Yeah.
They've had some great days.
They have.
They're still best of the rest.
I don't know.
They didn't show it this weekend, but they're still best of the rest. And I think what people are more shocked about is that Alex is holding his own, but I don't think that was ever shocking to me. Alex is a really good driver. He kind of had a rough run of things with the Red Bull seat and everything, as did most people.
Everyone's been forgetting
we need like
about
a Red Bull
Alex's past.
2 driver
They're all
recovery
like,
group.
I can't wait for Alex to get his first podium. And everyone's like, guys, Alex already has a podium.
Yeah.
He got a podium before. And everyone's like, no, he's going to get his first. And it's like, guys, we're forgetting the lore.
Yeah. Like,
oh my gosh.
So he's a good driver. And I think they were talking about, it was funny. I was actually one of the, I want to say it was pre-quali. They were talking about Kimi Antonelli, and Nico Rosberg was saying, like, Kimi Antonelli used to race my karts. And Gabriel Martelletto and the race winner for Formula 3 and all these guys, they're all managed by Fernando Alonso and stuff like that. So it's like, it's funny, like the full circle, like mini moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, you forget like everything that came before. Like, he was a great karter. They backed him for Red Bull Racing, chose him as a junior driver for a reason. They put him in the Red Bull seat for a reason. It's not like he stopped being great. He just couldn't perform in the Red Bull and was replaced. And then he ended up at Williams, and he's done really well. Like, granted, at first he had bad teammates. Sorry, Christina.
Yeah, that's part of it too, right? You just need sometimes a good teammate to push you.
Oh yeah.
When you have bad teammates, it's just not going to help.
This is we'll go a tennis reference really briefly, because I was listening to the commentators. We were talking about, they're talking about Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal, and Roger Federer would not have been the players they were if they weren't playing at the same time. Because they're all very good, but they all pushed each other to find new ways to play. Because, like, you couldn't get your backhand with Rafa or whatever. So you have to find new ways to win. So I think this is kind of the same thing of like, Alex has to find new ways to beat Carlos. And I think in a way, like, I would love to see like Max and Oscar. It doesn't have to be at the Red Bull. Maybe Max and Oscar or Max and Lando are at McLaren, but I'd love to see Max get pushed, because I don't think Max gets pushed anymore.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because I am curious what your take is. Do you think that like Max does suffer from a bad temper, and that when his buttons do get pushed, like that becomes his Achilles heel?
Yeah, I think like every driver has a weakness, and I don't think Max has a racing weakness. I think Max has a mental weakness.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's only like when his button get pushed to that level, it can be dangerous. And I'm not saying dangerous as in like he's gonna constantly cause accidents or whatever, but you don't know what you're gonna get when you have an angry Max Verstappen. Yeah. And granted, I mean, I'm not saying that's horrible. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You could get a wicked performance from that. Or you could get a crash. You don't. That's what I'm saying. You just don't know what you're going to expect. It's unpredictable. Yeah. It's the one part of Max's racing that is like unpredictable, because everything else, you're going to get a good launch from him. Like a good start. You're going to get good overtakes. A lot of times they're clean. They're really impressive, but they are clean. Like, I think people forget all the clean overtakes he does when. And I guess in this regard, Natalie from Sky Sports, she was a bit. She was on it for this thing where she was saying, like, it sucks because you have these moments that kind of take away from all of the greatness that you show, which I think was really like a nice way to put it, of like, these little things make people hate Max, but the reality is like 99% of the time he's picture perfect.
Yeah.
And then
that's the thing too.
2 moments a year where he gets pissed off, because again, also, you don't see him making mistakes when he's not pissed off, right? Like, he doesn't just skid off the track whenever. Like
Alonso did today.
I was going to say,
which is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was surprising. That was shocking. I thought you were going to say Kimi and Tonelli, but that
he did make a mechanical issue.
Yeah, that was
didn't his engine just die?
Yeah.
Are we worried? Like, this is kind of switching gears, but are we worried about that Mercedes engine?
There's been a few reliability issues.
They've had
more than in past years. And the engines haven't changed. They're the same engines because of the engine freeze. The only developments you're allowed to make are reliability developments. So unless they change something there that I messed something up, I can't imagine why there's been so many engine failures this year.
Yeah. I've been seeing people going, Mercedes gave the wrong engine to McLaren. They gave them the better engine.
I was going to say,
they supply their engine.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to see the works team being beaten by a customer team.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen all that often. It hasn't happened in a while.
I mean, it happened to Mercedes before with McLaren. Back when Mercedes came into existence in 2010 again. And they were the better team until 2014, McLaren.
Yeah.
And then only now are McLaren back to beating Mercedes regularly. It's insane.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because it's 3 engine retirements or, like, engine issues in 3 races. Because you have Kimi and Imola. Then you have... Well, actually, Kimi and... Was that Alex? In Imola? Who else parked on the side of the road?
There was somebody...
Someone else, like Alex or Lance. Was it Fernando?
That's what I was thinking. I thought it was Fernando.
For Imola?
Was it Fernando twice? No, I thought Fernando was Monaco. There was the Monaco Fernando.
For Imola, there were only 2 DNFs.
Which was?
Esteban Ocon and Kimi.
Ocon.
But Ocon
has a Ferrari engine.
Yeah. So it's just Kimi in Imola, then Fernando in Monaco, and now Kimi again. It's very interesting. It's very weird because, again, it's not like I was on George's team radio for a little bit right after that because I was curious what they were going to tell him from Kimi. And it didn't seem like they were concerned about his engine. So it's almost like it's more of like singular occurrences that for me, on my side at least, it doesn't seem like they fully know what's going on. Like, it's not like this is what's happening and we know what's happening. So we know how to like make it not happen on the other cars when they're still in the race. Yeah. It just seems like it just poof and like what went wrong, you know? So we shall see. Nico Hulkenberg, though, I want to talk about these Stowers because crazy. I saw so many comments that were like, please just give both George Russell and Charles Leclerc penalties for hitting Max and let Nico Hulkenberg be on the podium. And I'm not going to lie, I'm so for it. I would totally...
Sauber on the podium would be absolutely
That'd be crazy.
Also,
it was when he overtook Lewis Hamilton, I was like, what is happening? Overtaking Lewis?
Not great. Talk about another customer team.
Yeah.
For our engines, That was not fun to see.
But it's also like Lewis is struggling. So I don't...
He is.
I think there's...
Did we ever get an answer from Monaco? Because at the end of the race, he went, Ricky, do we have a problem? And Ricky didn't answer.
I don't think so.
We're still checking on that one. We're still checking.
Probably like, the problem's you, Lewis. Like,
I was like, does Lewis have a problem with Ricky? Or does Ricky have a problem with Lewis? We have an answer. Are we still checking?
Oh, is it a problem with the car? It could be a problem between him and Lewis. It could be like, Ricky, do we have a problem? Like,
well, that's what
I thought you meant.
That's
yeah.
what he
I thought
Ricky,
he meant like with the car.
No.
He went, Ricky, do you have a problem with me?
Like, do you guys hate me? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
That's rough.
I don't know. I think there's a line. I'm curious what you think the line is. Where is the line between us finally? I don't want to say finally admitting because it sounds. It's even as someone who's not a Lewis fan, for a long time was a Lewis hater. Actually, it's almost heartbreaking to say, like, when do we admit he's washed versus he's still getting used to the Ferrari? It's tough because he's admit it, he is the greatest.
Well, Ricardo never got used to the McLaren.
Yeah,
but the difference was Ricardo came
Danny
off.
Rick was young.
Danny Rick came off of a good season. Like, granted, it was at Renault, but he came off a good season at Renault.
He was great in the Renault. Like, he was able to adjust to when he started with the HRT.
Yeah.
Great in the Toro Rosso. Great in the Red Bull. Great in the Renault. And then whatever that McLaren did to him, he just could not get the grips with it.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it could be the same thing with Lewis. Like, Lewis, great in the McLaren, great in the Mercedes. And then he comes to the Ferrari and it just, not to grips with it yet.
It's just not.
I think
it's going to be a huge overhaul next year.
He's a race engineer?
It's going to be huge overall next year. It could be.
F1 TV was like, Carlos also had sometimes problems with Ricky, his race engineer.
Yeah.
And that's now Lewis's. So people are like, is it the race engineer?
Carlos came up with his own strategy all the time.
Yeah.
So could it be the race engineers? Like, they replaced Charles's last year in the middle of the season and stuff. So do they just need to replace Lewis's race engineer as well?
I think the difference for me, though, I mean, maybe the race engineer's problem. I doubt it. I think the difference for me, though, is he wasn't very good in his last stint with Mercedes either. Like, not to say he was necessarily bad.
True. George beat him a lot.
Yeah, but he was getting beat by his teammate, and so that's my line. Whereas, like, if he was really good at Mercedes and then he dropped over to Ferrari, I'm totally good with us 9 races in being like, he's still getting used to that car, he's getting used to that team. And granted, it's not easy jumping from, what was it? How many years? 10, 15?
11?
Was it 11?
12? No, 12. His first season with Mercedes was 2013.
Yeah, it was 12.
So
yeah.
12 years at Mercedes, it's not easy to make a jump to a new team. You've learned their habits and you've grown with that team and you've established yourself in that team. So I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying you're coming from somewhere where your teammate was beating you. You came over to Ferrari, and arguably, I think the only reason you even came over to Ferrari is because you are Lewis Hamilton. Because if he wasn't Lewis Hamilton and he was being beat by George Russell, he wouldn't have gotten that Ferrari seat to begin with. Because
for sure.
Because
I mean, last
Carlos
year
is a higher rated driver at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He is in the new F1 game.
When
I can tell you that.
George started beating Lewis a lot, people were like, "Oh, they're just favoring George because Lewis has already signed with another team." So they're like, "We'll still help you, but like." George is our long game. You're leaving us and things like that. So it's like everyone thought that, and now they're like, well, we're just getting used to the car. But it could be something else. Who knows?
Yeah.
Not
Do you think there's a point where he gets so frustrated he calls it quits before the new
possible.
regs?
It's very possible.
I think he's gonna give 26 a chance. This
I
year
could
has
see
been
him not
kind of
coming
a
back after
massive
26.
adjustment. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna at least try 26.
Does he have a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal?
I always heard 2.
It's a 2.
2. Okay.
Is it a 2 plus 1?
Probably
Only ever heard is 2. Only ever is 2.
Most of the deals around the paddock now are something plus 1. Like it's a 2 plus 1 or a 1 plus 1 or whatever. A lot of them are like just because it's easier to just extend a contract that you already have than to draw up a new one and negotiate a new one.
Yeah.
It's easier for the teams. So realistically, it might be a 1 plus 1.
Good.
I've heard that too.
It could be a 2-year 1 plus 1 deal. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone just thinks he's going to be there next year, so they're just saying it's a 2-year, even if it is like a 1 plus 1 or something.
Yeah.
Could be that too. Yeah.
Speaking of drivers that could be getting replaced, Franco Colapinto is on the chopping block once again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with Christina. Christina, you have some thoughts.
Okay.
Go for
Personally, out of all of my reserve drivers at Alpine, I'm including Franco in that because it was like Jack originally and Franco and all of them. Paul Aaron is my favorite. But with how this seat's going, I don't want them to replace Franco just because I don't want them to put Paul Aaron in that seat. and then them do the same thing they did to Paul that they did to Jack. Also, you can only have four drivers in a team during a season. They have Pierre. He's in a car. So in the other car, they've already had 2 drivers. That's 3 drivers. So if they put Paul Aaron in and he doesn't do good, they'd have to rotate between Jack and Franco. Or if Paul crashed,
Wouldn't
they'd
be
have to
ideal.
replace it with
Rotation.
Franco or Jack. And
That's something Red Bull should try.
Rock, paper, scissors every week.
Any of them.
Yeah, man.
Do you
For
think
the
there's
drivers
any
personally,
chance-
I don't think doing that is good for them.
For the team,
No.
like
chance
if
they
they're all
replace-
equally as skilled, it's better to have one consistent driver than like change it every week.
But also,
do you
like, they're
think
not.
there's any chance that they replace him with someone who's not a reserve? I mean, they have so many reserve drivers, but any chance
They've
they go
got
like
3 left.
they call up like for Felipe Drukovic or they call up Valtteri Bottas, so like, please, for
Nick
the love of God,
DeVries.
save me.
I mean, they've got that dude.
They have
I don't know how to
Kushmini,
say his
right?
name. They have Kushmini, but they also have that dude who did FP1 for Haas this weekend.
I know
he's also
exactly-
reserved because
I know exactly.
I just don't
who
know how
it
to say
is,
his name. It's
but I
his
just don't
first name is
remember.
R like IYO. I just don't know like how to say his name or his last name.
Oh my
But
God,
he's a reserve
I'm
for
working so
Haas
hard right now, but I'm gonna find
Alpine,
it. I swear.
and McLaren though. So
Yeah.
I realistically don't think
He
they'd
wears
put
a
him
lot
in the
of
car
hats.
because then he can't be a reserve for McLaren or Haas, and I don't think they'd want to give up his contract
Oh my
or
God,
something. But
Let's see what it was. I'm googling it.
it's most likely gonna be Paul Aaron that they would put in the seat, which
Yes.
I would love for Paul Aaron to be in an F1 car, but I don't want them to mess up his career
It was-
like they've messed up Jack's or like they could be
Hirakawa.
messing up Franco's.
Yeah, there it
Ryu
is.
Hirakawa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just pulled it up as you said it. So
Mm.
yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any shot.
That's my
that
thought.
She takes the seat.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. I think.
I don't think they're gonna put
they never
Kushmini in
announced-
either.
No.
No, I don't think they're gonna put.
Paul
No.
DeResta. How about him?
Who?
I don't think Paul DeResta.
Exactly.
Who? Paul DeResta, the commentator, is washed.
Yeah, the last race he did was he was at Force India for a bit, and then the last race is he filled in for Felipe Massa in Williams in 2017. Was that 18?
Something like that. I think it was 18.
And then like he was getting lapped by Kimi Räikkönen in the Ferrari, and Kimi was like he should stick to the commentary stuff as he was lapping
also
him. It was
Franco's
so
also
bad.
only been in the car for 3 races.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
but
it feels
also-
like race 9, but we're all like only 3 races for
Yeah, but the
Franco.
thing is,
Jack
we
didn't
were
perform.
told that he had a 5-race deal, and then they asked Flavio, and Flavio went, nah, he doesn't have a 5-race deal. He's staying in until I feel like he's not doing good anymore, and then I'll replace him. I don't know who
Flag
with,
thing.
but then I'm going to replace him.
It's bad because of who Flavio Briatore is in context,
yeah.
but I love Flavio Briatore. That man brings so much entertainment into my life, even in Christian Horner's life. Did you hear what he said in the press conference?
Yeah,
I
he was like,
did.
I love
Like,
having
thank
him
God
back.
you're back, man. These things were so boring without you. Like,
Yeah.
I needed my partner in crime, essentially, was the...
I would love to see Flavio and Max team up. I think
Sure,
that
they
would be
hate
hilarious.
Cauldron
Oh
up
my
a
God,
little bit.
guys. No
I
one
saw-
would ever like Max Verstappen ever again. Because that man is one that would say, Yuki, crash so that we can pit in Monaco.
You know,
that
There's
was-
guys like that in
When
NASCAR, and
Fernando
it's
Alonso
really funny.
was
It did
walking
happen.
to his car earlier, and he like stopped and said hi to Flavio and everything, I was like explaining to my dad everything. I was like, Flavio Briatore like commits crimes, and at the center is always Fernando Alonso, and he always gets away clean.
Hey,
Well, Fernando
Flavio-
got out of 2 F1 scandals.
Yeah, he
Do
always
you
gets
remember?
away clean.
He got out of Spygate with
Spygate?
McLaren when
And
they were
Crashgate, right?
stealing Ferraris. Yeah, when they were stealing
Yeah.
Ferrari's plans
Yeah.
and basically got immunity for sharing info. And then the
Witness
second
protection
one, same exact
program.
thing for Crashgate.
It's
You
funny
know?
that nobody talks
Yeah.
about it though. Like nobody associates Fernando Alonso with either of those things, unless you're like,
No.
no, no. I mean, he got off like great, like it.
He did
benefited
win the
him,
race
but
on track.
on track.
And I think he
I-
kept the win. The team didn't, but I think he kept the win.
that's funny.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
he
so.
did. I don't think that's like. I think that's credited as one of his race wins.
Yeah, because it was like, oh, Fernando couldn't have known. He wasn't really a part of it. Yeah, he's still
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
because
like
he was in
I
the car.
learned.
How is he supposed to know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, he doesn't talk about. Nobody talks about Fernando and Flavio. I found out about it like probably like a year or so ago from like a TikTok.
Yeah, he's so.
It was like that Sunday podiums person or whatever, and I was like, "You're telling me Fernando is at the center of all of these, and they all involve Flavio?"
Fernando's the missing piece.
No, I was like, they were like, guys, Fernando is a menace, and he has his managing team, and he's just recruiting other drivers to become menaces and join him. And I was like, okay.
I will say,
you see, Red Bull won't own the grid anymore. It'll be Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso.
He owns like half like the F2 and F3 driver. Like they're all like unmanaged by him.
He just signed Sebastian Montoya, which
I saw that.
So I love Sebastian Montoya. He is my favorite F2 driver. I think he's great. But he had
not mine, but he's up there.
What did you say?
Enzo?
He's not.
Enzo is not an F2 anymore.
Oh,
I don't know.
I didn't know that.
My favorite's Dino.
Enzo Fittipaldi is who he's talking about. He's just not.
Montoya is up there.
Enzo Fittipaldi lost his Red Bull deal going into last year, and was cooked because he couldn't keep going. I mean, that family is so tragic because it could have been so great. Brazil, like realistically, Brazilian racing died off when the Fittipaldis weren't good enough, and neither was PK. Like that was the end because they needed the name because realistically, like Brazil's economy is so shit that we can't support drivers financially. Like they can't pay anywhere near what like Sergio Perez was paying to race. Like we talk about paid drivers.
You're happy with the F3 rankings now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Like Portuguese and Brazil at the top. Hell yeah.
Yeah. We've also got Nicholas Stolfer, however you say his last name, is up
from
there.
Bulgaria. Yeah.
He's my favorite F3 driver.
And he's managed by Fernando Alonso. But we're getting sidetracked. Anyways, speaking of Fernando Alonso,
like secretly a super villain. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Well,
that's kind of what my whole rant was.
I have this thing. I loved what Tommy from P1 with Matt and Tommy said last week. And he was like, it's like, welcome to let's watch how Fernando loses points this week. And for the first time, that didn't happen. And all I could think about was, oh my God, we didn't watch Tommy's favorite show. I don't know why it was so funny to me, but like that was the whole thing playing in my head.
And Lance wasn't there to ruin it.
I know. I'm genuinely like I don't think it's like makes any sense how happy he is, but I also get it. Like he was so happy for those 2 points. Like it was like
it was like, a long time coming, you know.
Championships and was in Max's position where he's like pissed to be off the podium, and now he's like, oh my God, I finished P8. I got points.
Yeah.
Well, I mean he is everyone's favorite rookie.
He is everyone's
favorite. He's just a rookie getting points for the first time.
For real.
Yeah, Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, Fernando Alonso.
Do you think he'll ever do the 500 again?
I really hope so. He said he hasn't. Like he did a recent. It was called the High Performance Podcast. He went on there last year, and they said, "Hey, would you ever go back to other racing other than F1?" And he said, "I want to do Le Mans again, and I want to do Dakar again." And then zero mention
Dakar
of
would be
IndyCar.
sick.
I have one Le Mans race I want to go to. Don't know when it is, but I will be going. It's when Charles and Arthur are racing together.
I'm just ready for Lance Stroll and the Aston Martin at Le Mans.
On that note, though, Christina, is there a world where Le Mans doesn't match up with the F1 calendar to where they have an off week that week?
I thought it does this year or next year.
This year doesn't. It might next year, but it always seems to be on an F1 race weekend.
Was it last year?
Too.
No, it wasn't.
I think it was.
No, I watched it last year and I did not watch F1 because I did not turn it off to turn on F1, and I watched all the races last year. Because I remember that like 5-hour safety car.
I think it was.
Fell asleep right when it ended. It was tragedy.
But I think the other thing is the world in which Charles races Le Mans, in which, you know, Fernando and Max race Le Mans, that's like the world in which they have to train for Le Mans, because Max Max is too heavy. Like Max, like he said,
Max has
I
the
can't
platinum
race I'm
ranking.
too heavy. What?
That's funny.
Max can now race in all endurance because after his
I was going to mention
Grand
this.
Turbine thing, he's now a platinum ranked driver, so he can race in endurance.
Driver. Yeah. And I love
Max can race in NASCAR.
Like, I thought it was so funny because like there were so many like battles in the comments of people being like, guys, y'all are so stupid. Platinum, like all the F1 drivers are platinum, and everybody was like, no, actually, they're not. Like there's 5 F1 drivers that are platinum. I think, funny enough, I think Lance Stroll is platinum. He has his platinum.
Who are the others?
Yeah, so I didn't fully understand that. I didn't realize that. I thought if you got super license, you automatically qualified for everything below that. But I guess not. I guess because there's such a different car, the FIA at least wants you to test it before they grant you. Like, you don't need to earn points to get the lower level platinum license, but you need to race a lower level car to like prove like I've driven one and I'm not gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So Max now has his. In no world do I think Max decided to do this on purpose so he could get his platinum license and then go race Le Mans. I just
generally,
at least not right now,
for the future. Yeah, like it's not right
generally
now.
Could have just been for fun too.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Eventually, I'm gonna want to do it. Might as well have a little fun.
Also, I saw one thing he did it so his GT3 team could qualify for a certain something. I don't remember.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
it's
weird.
Also totally possible that he did the test and then realized it qualified him for the platinum afterwards, and then just decided to do it because why not get?
I feel like that's pretty likely, honestly.
Like it's Max. Like Max loves racing. Max, I don't think he did it like super intentionally with like a purpose.
Laugh, love, race.
It just kind of happened. So,
that's such a maximism.
Right. Quickly, I think we've covered a lot of the race. I do want to quickly mention the McLarens who like essentially sailed off into the distance. Oscar did. Lando got a little stuck behind Max for a hot minute.
Yeah, well, and also that reminds me of what was it, Liam Lawson and someone else having a battle.
And Ollie having such a blast.
That was just sad.
Yeah, Liam was trying to take out like the whole grid because he took out Alex Albon.
Yeah.
I was like the Liam Lawson song from last year where it's like, I'm Liam Lawson, here's my middle finger, get out of the way, or whatever it was. I was like, that's gonna make a comeback. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely making a comeback. It was just funny though because the way that happened with Max being so annoyed at like the way they wouldn't get out of the way, but he actually gained so much time.
I was gonna say, like, he got pretty close there.
Like if you watched it from our point of view, it's like, why the fuck are you mad? But again, if you watch it from his point of view, it's not as obvious because again, obviously he knew he was gaining time to Lando, but the point being that he was so close to Lando, he thought he could pull off an overtake if Liam hadn't been there. So I think that was kind of what he's pissed off about. There's also
and then there was Ollie defending and like trying to overtake Liam at the same time, and I was like, I thought it was kind of funny. And I think like Ollie said, like, "No, I'm here to race
rules. Like, get it out of the way." Like,
yeah. Oh, that also reminds me of, I think, what was it? It was during the pit cycle, I think, where Yuki didn't put up a fight.
With Yuki. Well, it was poorly timed because in theory, Yuki should have let him through when he was coming out of the pits, not before, not after. But
but he did have what? Who did he have on his tail?
Ollie. I think that was
Ollie. He had Ollie right behind him, so he was also trying to defend from Ollie while letting Max pass.
Yeah, he was overtaking Ollie. So it just kind of worked out that way. But yeah, the interesting. I'm curious what you guys think as McLaren fans. Did Max cost Lando the win, or was it always Oscars? Do you think?
I mean, I personally thought it was always Oscars. To be honest,
I thought it was always Oscars. Once Oscar went into the distance.
No, but you gotta race the other cars on the grid, so I don't think Max cost him anything.
Yeah.
My point being, like, if Lando hadn't been overtaken by Max on lap 1, was there a fight on between those two?
That was Max's fault. Yeah, Lando kept the gap because there was like a whole long period towards the end where it was like 4.5 seconds to Oscar, and he closed up at one point and then fell back to like 4.5, and like it was kind of like, well, you know, he had the same pace and just would have never gotten it done.
Yeah.
Watching F1 with people who didn't watch races last year is so funny because my dad was like, oh my gosh, he's 4 seconds, almost 5 in front of Lando. I was like, that is not the worst. It's been like 22 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's been 30 plus at times.
Yeah, I was like, it's been like 32, 20. 4 is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 is
4
not bad
is
at all.
like one bad pit stop and a poorly timed safety car away from the loss.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's 2 things that I wanted to mention with this. Firstly, even though the gap is 10 points, it's almost as if the perception is that Oscar is that much quicker because he's shown so many more dominant performances compared to Lando. Again, Lando won Monaco. It's not like he's necessarily like, it's not horrible, right? He's not a bad driver. It's just I think the perception becomes Oscar's so much better than Lando because even though it's 10 points and that's realistically nothing, he's been, I feel as like, it's almost like Lando's been more consistent, but Oscar's been quicker. It's really funny.
I get that. Yeah.
But there's that. And then the other thing, one of the things Bernie Collins said that I actually didn't even realize, I think in 2022, 23, a little bit of last year, you saw Max pull away so much and he had such ease and no deg that you really saw the true pace of the Red Bull. Like, it was always in clear air. He didn't have a teammate he was fighting. You saw the true pace. But I feel like we don't even see, like, we see the McLaren so far ahead, but we don't even see the true pace of the McLaren. She's like, because you don't see
they're always fighting each other.
Lando fight Oscar and Oscar fight Lando. So they're like managing tires the whole time. They're in dirty air and then they can't overtake because it's the same car going the same speeds. It's just the different, 2 different drivers. So I think that's an interesting point of like, how much quicker are they really? Like, like what is the actual race pace gap? Because I think it's a lot bigger than what we think. And I think that's like leads to other drivers' frustrations. It's like people getting frustrated when Max was leading by 30 seconds. It's like realistically the McLarens could be leading by 30 seconds, I think. Like I think they're quick enough. It's just they gotta stop managing.
And the tire deg, to your point, is just so much better. It's
so much better.
They almost could have done like a 1-stop. Like it was crazy.
I was thinking about it. I was like, why don't they 1-stop it? Because they're dead with Oscar. I didn't think they were ever going to 1-stop with Lando because Lando had the deg from being behind Max and overtaking Max, and then being in Oscar's dirty air. But Oscar was in free air the whole time. I was like, why?
I don't think so. Everybody was like nobody even thought about the 1-stop. It was 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That's why
I don't know if the tires would have lasted. It would have been way too long.
But it's also like, why even try the 1-stop on Oscar if everybody else pitted behind him? Like,
right. I mean, especially if Max was already going to do a 3-stop, it's like, it's not worth it.
Oscar could just mirror what everybody else did and like still would have been ahead. So it didn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also, I think that my dad was actually asking me this before the race, and I was like, my answer was no, and I'll say what it was, but my answer was no because it's so different. But he was like, do you think the F1 teams take anything from the F2 race, tire-wise and stuff like that? Obviously, there's always some little thing, but the cars are so different, and the tires are a whole different tire, that my answer was like, no. Like, I mean, it's like, it's so different. But the reality is, I think Red Bull definitely saw what the runners in F2 did, the pace they were able to have on the softs at the end of the F2 race, coming in, starting on hards, and they ended on softs. They had so much pace advantage. I think Red Bull saw that. We're like, well, as long as we keep putting on fresh tires, we'll still have the pace advantage. So we'll be okay. We just had to find the right windows to pit. So I think in that regard, they did. Like, they are looking at it a little bit.
I think there's only one thing they can like get from the F2 and like F3 races is because like the F3 and races like put I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like they make the track like they like put rubber on the track and stuff, so like it gives them, I guess, like better grip or whatever. Like, because I remember at like the beginning, like when they're F3 and everything, they're like, oh, there's nothing on the track, and then like slowly as they start racing, so, like,
the track has to warm. That's the only thing
you
get worn in
that you get from F1 is the track is more worn in.
Yep.
From F2.
Last little thing I want to mention, and then if anybody else had anything, comments. Max was driver of the day. And I
wanted to mention that earlier. I was like, I kind of thought that was
decided
funny.
before the last lap because voting opens, I think, the final 10, and they're still under safety car then. So everybody looked and was like, "Oh, good job, Max! You made it."
Yeah.
I don't think it was that. I think it was the fact that Max was the only person that made that race entertaining.
if he was there, it would have been kind of boring.
Lando,
I mean,
by overtaking people when he was on that tire deficit, he had some really that final lap took away so much from his performance, because the reality is he had some brilliant overtakes that race. Him and Fernando too. Fernando had some great overtakes. Everybody else was just there.
Yeah,
but
I think it also has to do with that, in Imola, when he was the one that won and the McLarens on the podium, they were singing da, 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 Max Verstappen. the people who didn't want McLaren to win were like, oh, Max is in P3, I'm gonna vote for Max. That probably also affected that, because they were like, McLaren's winning the race, they don't need a win driver of the day.
Deservingly will win Hülkenberg.
I agree.
Oh yeah,
I think if we
absolutely,
I think if 10 races to the end, the reality was there that we really thought Hülkenberg was going to be P5.
You mean 10 laps?
What did I say? 5
races?
Oh, 10 laps. Yeah, if 10 laps to the end, there was the reality. Everybody saw that he was going to be P5. I think he would have been driver of the day. But the fact that it was kind of a last couple laps kind of thing, I think that's why he didn't get it. But I was just genuinely so shocked. I was looking down the order, I was like, wait, he's 5th? What the hell? I think also he made the right call. He pitted, a lot of other people didn't pit. So he lost track position, but then he was blistering. He was so fast. So
yeah.
I don't know. Any final comments?
I want to say something not this race related, but F1 driver related. So you know how a while back Kimi admitted to credit card fraud with Ollie?
Yes.
Ollie commented, I don't remember if it was last weekend or this weekend or whatever, but he was like, yeah, but we also have stolen his ID before and things.
Oh,
so I was like, yeah, so while we have committed credit card fraud, we've also it's not identity theft, but it was he's no, we've done this multiple times, but he's no longer my trainer or whatever he is. He's now Bortoletto's, but he was so I can tell Bortoletto where he keeps his stuff, because I know.
Oh my god.
That's crazy.
No, it's guys, you've got to stop admitting to crimes. Don't do it.
That actually brings up something that I want to mention really quick, last thing, because I forgot to mention it when we were talking about Le Mans. With Lance's surgery, for his hand,
yes,
Felipe Drukovich would be the obvious choice if he were not to race in Canada. However, Felipe is supposed to race in Le Mans. So, and he has said that he would prioritize Formula 1, but why is it that that he has to get so unlucky that the one shot he gets in F1 happens to be the more important race that he does on the side? The same.
Yeah, just unfortunate timing.
How much of a chance does he have to win Le Mans?
I mean, he's
I don't know what team he's on. Is he on the Porsche Penske's? Because he has a really good chance then.
Because I'm the last 2 years it's been Ferrari.
Yeah,
but the Porsches are good. If he's in the Lamborghinis, he has no chance.
Yeah. But it's also Ferrari being good in every or most other racing, winning things, and then F1 Ferrari.
He's in the Cadillac, so he has a chance that.
Yeah.
The Cadillac, the Porsches, and Toyotas, right?
Yeah.
The BMWs maybe. The Ferraris definitely.
That's
do you mean Acura? Does Toyota still race on
Acura is Honda.
Toyota
not in the 24 hours.
Toyota's racing the Toyota, but the
Toyota
are actually they're pretty good.
Yes.
For us. I think the important part about Le Mans though is that anyone can win, because it's so long. I mean, not anyone, but it's so unpredictable.
He's in one of the top teams, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what's more important, right? Your shot at finally breaking into F1 or a potential win in Le Mans. You gotta
I would think F1.
Again,
I kind of get what he's saying by prioritizing F1 though, because he probably might only get this one chance, but he can do Le Mans next year.
No, he did say he was going to prioritize it, but I just think it's so unfortunate that he finally gets his shot, but he has to give up something else. Can you imagine if he pulls out of Le Mans, someone else takes a spot, and then that team wins, and he was lapping at the back in F1 and in Aston? It sucks. But he also got passed over for his chance. We have a Brazilian in Formula 1, which I always expected to be him before it was anybody else, and it ended up being Gabriel Bortoleto. So we shall see.
Yeah,
but
never know.
That is all to come for the Canadian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned on our socials at Like the Latest, Instagram, and TikTok for more content. Bye, guys.